I see why people study abroad.
I would encourage anybody to go there.
The unknown is so exciting because it just means endless opportunity.
Now you and I have a connection because we
Right.
traveled somewhere.
I just did the most insane thing
Yeah.
of my life.
Yeah.
And yet everyone else's life moved on without me. I don't think it would change me like it did.
It forced me to slow down. What I told myself is like, if this goes horribly, I got 4 months. Dude.
I don't have to live for anyone else when
Yeah.
I'm traveling.
You're like, wow, I'm here. Like, I'm here. The school is what they base Hogwarts off of in Harry Potter.
They were like, you might have 5 people in your life that care about your trip.
If you are traveling, you can get away from your problems.
I've had hard travels.
100%.
I don't regret them.
It kind of allows you to just pause. Once you experience it, it's just like not something you really tease about.
Everyone's like, I'm never listening to this travel podcast again.
This is a start.
Seamus, welcome to the How Was Your Trip podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks
I'm
for
super
being here.
excited to be here.
I'm so pumped you're here.
Yeah.
So Seamus in college spent an entire semester in Scotland. And I would love to just hear like why Scotland? Why did you pick that? How did you pick that?
Yeah.
And then like a general overview of the trip.
What do you know about Scotland before I go into it? Do you know anything about Scotland?
You know, for someone who travels a ton, I know very little about Scotland.
Do you know anything about like the UK
Yeah.
in general? Like
Yeah.
what would you say? Because I feel like that's
I
a
mean,
good place to start.
I know.
This is good podcasting right here.
Everyone's like, I'm never listening to this travel podcast again.
Yeah, I think mostly the UK, like what people think of when they think of the UK is London.
Yeah.
That's why
and
you
that's
go.
honestly all I've ever really, and like the outskirts of London, I've never
Yes.
been like 2 hours more outside of London.
100%.
So
Yeah.
that's really all that I have. And most people
Yeah.
probably know about the UK.
Yeah. So I picked Scotland. I knew I wanted to study abroad. And you were probably my first and only friend I knew at the time that was studying abroad. And so the world, and like when you're in Tuscaloosa, it's like a closed loop system, right? It's football. You're like, people don't want to leave because it's a
Right.
great place to do school.
Right.
And so Scotland was, there was only a few options at the time because it was my fall of my senior year. And so it was close to graduating. And most of the time when you study abroad, it's like you go to Italy and you
Right.
drink wine and you have like an art class
Right.
and you don't really care.
Also, and most people think to go like sophomore or junior year. Most people
Yeah.
don't go their senior year
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. And so I think knowing that, it was like, I had to be very like intentional about where I was going. And big thing, they speak English. And so when I was looking at the choices, it was because Alabama had a program that it was like an exchange program. So I feel like most universities do, where it's not like I'm just picking a school in Scotland. It's
Right.
that the University of Alabama has an established relationship
Right.
with the school. And so my tuition dollars and everything was direct, like it was direct one-to-one. So I wouldn't have to pay.
Nice.
I didn't have to pay anything different than I was paying in Alabama. What appealed to me about Scotland was I feel like most of the time when you're studying abroad, it's like the location. Mine was weirdly enough about the school. Like I was really, really happy with the University of Glasgow. The school is what they base Hogwarts off of in Harry Potter. And they
Wait,
filmed,
that's so cool.
there's a lot, like Hogwarts is based in Scotland.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I think going in, like you look at pictures, and it was built in the 1450s. And so it was like
Wow.
this majestic, beautiful school. It's the 4th oldest English speaking university in the world.
Wow.
And so it's like all the people that went there, like they're big on their alumni. Like the guy who founded economics, Adam Smith, if anyone remembers Basic Supply and Demand, that's where he went to school.
Wow.
And so that was very important to me at the time, was like, I need to go
Yeah.
be immersed in this place. And so like that was kind of the pragmatic part of picking Scotland, but like why I wanted to study abroad and why I think traveling was so interesting to me was because I feel like traveling is kind of the only thing you can do in life where you're like, life is like you're hiking or something and it's a journey. But traveling, it kind of allows you to just pause where you
Yeah.
are in that journey and you get to go off and do something, but like nothing on that original journey has changed.
That's so true.
That kind of got instilled in me is because my mom, when she was in school, where she went to college right out of school, she went to Bible college in Germany when she was 18.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so she was during the Cold War and her parents want to be missionaries. And she was like, I don't really want to go to college in the U.S. If I'm going to like study like not something that was going to be like directly towards a career like medicine.
Right, like a traditional university path.
And so she was like, she convinced her parents, like, let her go to Europe. And so she studied at this super small town in the bottom of the Swiss Alps and like in the middle of the Cold War. And so I think, and she talks about that in her life because it was, she spent the most time alone, she said. And it was when she got to know herself the best. And I think like from what I know about your travels, I feel like that's when you learn the most about yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
And I feel like the more conversations I have with people, it's challenging.
Yeah.
And it's not always fun, but you push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You learn what you care about because you're not impressing anyone. You're literally just doing what you want to do for you.
Yeah.
I think that is something I love so much about travel. It's like, I don't have to live for anyone else when I'm traveling.
Do you think people go to places and like regret going there? Like, do you think people travel places and like, I regret going to that place?
Yes, for a couple of reasons.
What are they?
I think if you have like a bad experience, like a really hard bad experience, like I have friends that have had horrible experiences, and I don't want to name drop any countries because I don't like giving any countries a bad rap, but I have friends that have had, like physical,
you feel unsafe.
horrible. Yeah. And so I think that.
Yeah.
I think if they didn't plan right and they just had like a boring trip or a not very cost-effective trip, something like that, I think people can regret it. And I don't think that's the country's fault. I think that's the traveler's fault. So I do think there's some reasons that people say they don't have great experiences, but overall, I think even if you have I've had hard travels,
100%.
I don't regret them.
No.
Like they made me who I am now.
No. Yeah. I think that's what I was surprised by the most is because, I mean, I spent a lot of time making fun of people that would study abroad, and they would talk about studying abroad because that's like, it's like, oh my God, did it change your life? That's so cool. And so I was going into it. I was like, I'm definitely not going to be one of those people. I wouldn't say I didn't like study abroad people, but I always didn't. I think like what you kind of touched on earlier, it's very cost prohibitive. Like, it's very expensive. For sure. It can throw off your track to graduate. There's a lot of strings attached always. And so
it's something to you don't want to brag about studying abroad.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I feel like, especially because the experiences are pretty similar, right? Like people there's like, I think the cool thing about Semester at Sea when you told me about it is that you went to so many different countries and also countries like that not everybody goes to. Like where did you go? Like
Burma and India and Vietnam, and like I don't know a ton of people that went to those places. No,
and so I think that's like the reason of Scotland too is like it's not the most common place. Like people go to London,
100%.
Yeah, and it was very lucky that like the program with Alabama existed, and it was aligned with what I wanted, like academically.
Yeah.
It was in an interesting place that also spoke the language that I spoke, which is important and that like testament to planning.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it was covered by my scholarship already. So I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. Like it was just like I was in Tuscaloosa, but I was in Scotland.
Yeah. I feel like when I got back from Semester at Sea, and they did a really great job of like, there was a whole transitioning program on SAS that helped us as we were getting ready to go back home. And they warned us, they were like, nobody is going to care. Like no one, they were like, you might have 5 people in your life that care about your trip. And so it was so hard for me when I got back of like, this is all I've known for the last 4 months of my life. And you naturally talk about your life. Like what have you done recently?
100%.
Mine just happened to be way more insane.
You're in Burma.
And even, but even
you're
like
an elephant.
even my small experiences, like even just like going to class. Well, I was going to class on a ship. Yeah. And so even talking about my homework or my devotional with my friends or whatever it might be, it was so weird talking about because no one cared.
Yeah.
But like I cared. Like I was like, I just did the most insane thing of my life.
Yeah.
And yet everyone else's life moved on without me. Yeah. Like it was just fine. Like, do you feel like you experienced similar things or no?
Yeah. What I think one thing you said is like, no one cares. I think what I realize is that it's now you and I have a connection because we
Right.
traveled somewhere. And I
Yeah,
think that's kind of
that's
the
good.
beautiful thing about it is that maybe like the community that you like are building that you're a part of when you travel is that like you have, you just have more experiences that are a little bit like just not everyone has it. And so you feel more connected to people.
Right.
Like
Right.
I'm sure if I talked to one of your classmates on like semester at sea, we would have something in common because we both went to places that we're not used to.
Right.
So,
And I think the
that's,
people that you experience that with, you also form bonds with. Like
Yeah.
I'm still so close with some of those people. Did you make any friends on the trip?
Oh my God. Yeah. The guy's going to be in my wedding party. He's like,
That's
he's
awesome.
like one of my best friends still. He lives in Australia.
That's
Sebastian,
awesome.
yeah. We visit once a year. He'll come. I'm going there next year. He's come here twice. So,
That's so
yeah,
cool. That's so
like-
cool.
and that relationship would not have been formed obviously because we live on different days of the week.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Different hemispheres. And so I think, that's the beautiful part of the community being formed. And so when you kind of ridicule study abroad, it's not like, it's one of those things like, once you experience it, it's just like not something you really tease about. And it's fun. It's really, if you have a chance, you should take it. Like
Absolutely.
100%.
You kind of touched on it in the beginning, but I just feel like it's not encouraged at all at
No.
the University of Alabama. And I'm
No.
sure a lot of like Southeastern schools.
I think every school, honestly. Yeah.
Well, there are some schools that some of my friends went to that like they studied abroad 2 or 3 times, which just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, maybe the school didn't encourage it, but they definitely informed them more. Because I didn't know about semester at sea from Alabama.
Yeah.
I knew about it through other people who had done it. And I know that like our sports are a big deal. Our Greek life are a big deal. So between the fall with football and the spring with like spring parties and Greek life, it isn't, when you are wrapped up in those things, it's like, how am I ever going to leave my school for a semester? And like, that is awesome that we went to a school that we loved so much that it was hard to leave for a semester, but it was like I won't say the best semester, but I will say the most
100%.
life-changing.
Definitely the best semester. Definitely my best semester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many weeks were you there?
I was there for a full semester. So
like 18? Right?
I got there beginning of September, left in December. So 4 months.
Okay.
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I think the big thing for me was I had just gone. I had worked in California, and so I was like used to the sunny weather.
Gosh, I forget that you lived in California. You've lived so many lives.
Yeah, no, it's kind of wild. So I was like, I worked at that special needs camp in California, and before I like left to Europe, I was back in the South, and I like went to Tuscaloosa. This is like warm weather, and so got off the plane in Scotland, and it's September, and it was like 45 degrees.
You're like, turn around.
I was like wearing a t-shirt. I was like wearing a t-shirt.
Time to go
I was
home.
like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. And like my mom had traveled, you had traveled. Like I felt like I should like be able to get like I'm pretty self-reliant.
Yeah.
Like, I'll figure this out. And I think the kind of the anxiety that you feel, you're like, wow, I'm here. Like I'm here. Like there's no one else. No one's going to get me to my apartment. No one's going to make sure I go to class. And so it teaches you like it's just a kind of a crash course on being self-reliant, especially. And that's obviously kind of a privileged way to learn because if you're in a safe place and you're in school, so it's not like life or death or anything. But
did you have any kind of like adult? I mean, we were technically adults, but like real adults.
We were college kids at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, did you have any kind of like leader or someone that you could go to?
Yeah.
Or was it kind of like a regular university where like if you're in the dorms, you have an RA, but after that, you don't really have anyone?
They had like an RA type. And the big thing was schools in Europe. And I think one thing like if you are considering studying in Europe, all the schools are interconnected. And so there was a ton
like all throughout Europe.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
there's kids at the University of Glasgow that were doing a semester from a university in France.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And so it's
I didn't know
more,
that.
And it kind of makes sense.
Within
Europe,
the
the
EU.
continent is so small.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you or I went and did a semester at UT Austin or something.
Yeah.
Right? It'd be a different experience. Mm-hmm. So that was a cool thing was when I was studying abroad and there was a program and where like the RAs were is they kind of the RAs kind of encouraged us to mingle with the other studying abroad students.
Yeah.
And I think that was unique to Europe, and specifically is because there's a lot of students that weren't American that were also studying abroad.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, I mean, it's just like any first day of college, right? It's like, we're all here now. Like,
Yeah.
we have to get along because
Yeah.
we don't know anybody else.
So what did your normal week look like?
So that was one of the things that when I was considering where I was going, it was my fall semester, my senior year.
Right.
And so I had to go to class. Like I was taking 400 level econ classes.
Right.
And part of the appeal of the University of Glasgow, it's a really good school. And it's like, I'm pretty smart. Like, I'll be fine.
He's really smart.
No.
Like,
I
really
don't mean
smart.
it like that. But I was like, I have good grades at the University of Alabama. I've been on the dean's list. Not a big deal. So
we won't talk about high school, but college, Seamus, crushed it.
Yeah. My GPA was fine. And I was like, okay. And my impression was I'm going to go hang out, and then like class is something I have to check the box on.
Yeah.
But at the time, Brexit was going on.
Oh,
And so I was at the best economic school in the UK during Brexit. And Scotland was also voting for its independence at the time.
Wow.
So all the professors were real riled up about what was going on. And so I got to class the first day, and like it was really cool because what we were learning was very applicable, but it was also like, this is not going to be a joke. And I think one thing I'm kind of back to that point on planning is that I like knew when I was getting there and I knew when I was leaving. I did not have anything planned in between. I was like intentionally not booking myself, like, because I know people, obviously it makes sense. Like, I'm going to go ahead and book a weekend in Rome because I know I'm going to be in Europe. But I was kind of going in with, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think that gave me a lot of freedom to like, number one, worry about school, because I was like, oh, I'm going to have to like go to class and worry about this.
Yeah.
But it also gave me like leverage to be some friends like, hey, we're going to Prague. Do you want to go? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I go to Prague. I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So I think like to answer your question, I didn't actually answer it. What did a normal week look like? We'd go to class, and then me and my roommate would go study together because he was also taking more serious classes. And then the way you meet people in Scotland is you go to the pub.
Nice.
And so I think it's different. The bar, it's like the bar culture is completely different. It's not like we're going to go and drink as much as we can quickly. Right. It's like we're going to sit there for hours and just talk.
Right.
And I think that
chill.
was so enjoyable.
That's
like
awesome.
I think that's probably my fondest memories are like sitting at a pub. Like the bar we would go to was down the street from us, and it was an old church that was built in like 1600 that they converted into a pub. And like the time you spend there, because everything is old and like everybody is like, the Scottish culture is kind of slow paced because it's a land of the people are just don't take life super seriously.
Yeah,
it's very, everyone's pretty mellow.
Yeah.
Which is really like lucky thing when you're studying abroad, is that it's not London where it's super fast paced, or you're trying to like learn a new language, or like on a boat in the middle of the ocean where there's a lot going on.
Do you feel like you struggled with the slower pace at all? I know that like sometimes when I've traveled, I've enjoyed it. And then sometimes I'm like, why is this dinner taking 2.5 hours? And so like, do you think that you struggled, or do you think you're like, I'm loving this?
No, I think I really, really appreciated it. And I think that's where you learn the most about yourself. It's like when you're quiet, and it's like, that was the beautiful part about Scotland, is that it's a country that's really far north. There's only 5 million people. It's just a quiet, kind of serene place. Like you just feel calm. And so I think like all the, just kind of the energy of a place, because every place has a different like energy level. Yeah. And so I think Scotland, it forced me to slow down, because like at that point in my life, I was very go.
Yeah.
And it forced you to like, all right, stop and be where you are.
Yeah.
And like look around.
How many people are in Glasgow?
I think like 500,000. I think it's the second biggest city in Scotland.
And had you ever really traveled before this trip?
No.
Like, have you ever, you had been to Mexico, right?
I'd been to Mexico as a kid.
Okay. Yeah. But that's it.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Yes, not as much because it was like I wasn't super worried about the language, and also I had planned very well. And so like what I actually have to worry about is like I just need to like get a roof over my head and then go to class. Like that's all I have to worry about. And then like making friends and acclimating, because like what I told myself is like if this goes horribly, I got 4 months. Like I can do 4 months.
Right.
Like it's not going to be the end of the world. And so I think the biggest point of nerves was like those mainly like pragmatic parts of like making sure like I was settled in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think the 4 month thing is such a great perspective. I think that has really helped me do harder things in life. I think, with semester at sea, with moving to Montana, like I told myself like it's only for this long.
Yeah.
Like if it's horrible, it's only for this long. And those are some of the like most life-changing things I've done. So
had you traveled before you did? You traveled with your family?
Yeah.
Is that the first time?
I had traveled with my family before semester at sea, a lot. And so I had traveled a lot. I hadn't traveled by myself a lot.
Yeah.
Kayla and I did our road trip the year before semester at sea.
I remember that.
And by then I knew I wanted to go, but I hadn't like signed up and everything for
what
SAS.
places got crossed off the list that you didn't go? If you weren't going to do SAS, was there somewhere else you were going to go? Really? That was the only plan?
I think that there were like, I never looked into anything else. I found this senior year of high school and I started saving my money literally freshman year of college.
I did not know that.
Yeah. People were like, it costs so much. And I'm like, but if you save, like I still understand, like it's such a privilege to be able to do something like that.
100%.
But like I started a savings account for semester C 3 years before I ever went. So yeah, there was never really another option. It was either that or nothing. And I almost didn't go strictly because none of my friends were going. I didn't know anyone going. And if I had let those fears stop me, it would have been horrible. I would not be the person I am today. I grew so much. And you've mentioned that you grew so much.
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest difference about you when you came home?
I think it was honestly just spending so much time alone.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm going to have to eat at a restaurant and I don't know anybody. So we're just going to sit here.
So do you think you just became like more comfortable with yourself?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the best part about traveling is that you're just kind of alone with yourself.
Yeah.
And you're in a place where if there's like things in your life that you aren't super happy about, you're in a beautiful place and like there's probably distractions. And so it gives you a new perspective on like the thing that was bothering me. Like, well, how can I look at it from a new perspective?
I definitely think as your friend, I can attest to like you came back as a different person. Like you did come back way more confident, more self-assured. Yeah. Just like had this presence of like, I am who I am. Calm. And I know who I am. Yeah. And it was very calming. You're a very calming individual. I don't even know if you know, I feel like I've told you, but like you are the reason I moved to Montana.
Really?
Have I never told you this?
No, you never told me this.
Seamus, you said something to me. And so when was Montana? 2020, COVID. I lost my job. Well, the job that I had lined up after college.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you said to me, the unknown is so exciting because it just means endless opportunity. Yeah. And like, it literally shifted my perspective because I've been such a planner my whole life.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And I was like, done. I'm moving to Montana.
That's cool.
Like you are the reason.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. Yeah.
But like you just came back because that was a semester after you came back. Like you just came back as such a different person than when you left. I mean, you've always been
we've made fun of those people. And then come back different.
No, literally. And you're like,
we became them.
I see why people study abroad.
Yeah. No, 100%.
No. And I think like going somewhere far away from everything you've ever known in that time of your life is so pivotal. Yeah. Like, I think that if I went abroad for 4 months right now, I do think it would change me. I don't think it would change me like it did. Like 100%. I'm just so established in my life and my family and like what I believe. Like, I just feel like I was more malleable, but not in a bad way. Yeah. Like it formed me into who I am. Do you feel like there were any challenges or hardships you had to overcome? Like, were there hard moments? Were there tears?
Yeah. I went through my first breakup in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait.
I dated a girl in California. It was summer love. Yeah. Right.
Oh, but you guys broke up before Scotland.
No, we didn't. We did not.
And so Seamus wasn't as mature before he left.
No, we did. We can make it work, right? I'm going to live in Europe. It's definitely going to work.
She's still living in California.
Yeah, it's going to work.
It's
like
gonna
I'm in
work.
Scotland. It's fine. And so I think, yeah, that was tough.
How far into the trip were you?
Oh, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Right off the bat. So that's a good thing. If you are traveling, you can get away from your problems really quickly.
You just run.
You just run, literally. We don't encourage that. But it's it kind of, on a positive spin on that, it does give you space to like actually think about, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
And so I think at that time it was fall semester of my senior year. I did not know what I was going to do. And that led me like all this time to kind of be introspective and not feel like, because if you're with your friends all the time, like you're not going to just spend as much time thinking about what do I want.
Right.
It's more like, I'm just going to go hang out with Sarah.
Right.
Like, and not really worry about what I'm doing. And so all that time afforded me, like, that's where I figured out about Teach for America. It was like, I want to go, like, I like traveling now.
Yeah.
I want to go to a new place. And so it like kind of kicked off another part in my brain that was like, how can we do this in the future going forward? And so I think for the rest of my life, I will try to find a job or like a life path that will allow me to go somewhere new. And I don't think that would have happened if it's 3 months. Like it's not, if I didn't have those 3 months, like it's not, a lot happened in that short amount of time. Yeah. And so I think that's like, if you can study abroad, like, or just travel in general, you have, like, it's. So you mentioned Prague. Were you able to end up doing some weekend trips? Oh yeah. Thanksgiving. That was the only time I felt very homesick, was Thanksgiving. Because I was like, the holidays get you. They really do. Yeah. I was like, I knew I was going to be home for Christmas, but like I hadn't thought about like Thanksgiving. And I was like, I need to go somewhere like where there's some sun. Because at that time, Scotland, the sun rises at 8 a.m., sets at like 2 p.m. So it's dark a lot. Yeah. And so if you're... And that's a real thing, like winter depression, like 100%. It's What's it called? SAD? Or no? It's seasonal. SAD. Seasonal affective disorder. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Had that. I felt it in Montana though. Like it's so real. 100%. Yeah. Cold, rainy. Yeah. And so Thanksgiving, like weekend trips, I went to Barcelona. Nice. Yeah. So I had tapas on the beach in Barcelona. Oh my gosh. With friends or by yourself? With friends. Yeah, I went with friends. That's people amazing. I met there. Yeah. Yeah. Went to Barcelona, went to Madrid, and like that's everyone says, like if you're in Europe, I'm sure it's the same thing in Southeast Asia or Asia in general. Yeah. It's like you can just pop over. If you're in Vietnam, you can go to Thailand. The flights, like, I mean, even just getting a flight from here to New York, which is like supposed to be cheap, it's like $350. Yeah. They would never pay $350 for a flight in Europe. No. What did you do any unplanned trips? Did SAS like build that into the model or no? So I planned most of my stuff before. I do think there's a healthy balance. I think you planned something. Shocker, right? My type A self planned something. Never. No, I think so. There were different types of people on the trip. There are people that get off the ship with absolutely no plans. Yeah. And I'm one of those guys. For sure. But then you spend your first day in port trying to figure out what to do. Okay. And I'm already in the city that I want to go to. Okay. The problem is a factor of semester at sea is that there are only 6 days in port. So that's a problem. You do have a very finite, short amount of time in each port. So we did plan. There were a couple places where I was like, dang, I would have loved to do this, that I met a girl on the ship and she had planned this really cool trip, but I was already locked into this other trip with other people. Also, like you meet people online beforehand and plan trips, and then like those aren't the people you vibe with on the ship. So there were a couple times where I was like, dang, I wish I'd been more go with the flow. And then there were times where we were doing a lot in 6 days and I was glad we had mapped it out. So there were times that I was so glad we planned ahead of time, but I did not allow for pretty much any flexibility. And that's something I wish I had done, where it sounds like you prioritize the things that mattered. Like it is important to you to go to class. It's important to you to like still make good grades, but then you still allowed for flexibility for once you got there. So I wish I'd been more like that. Yeah. That's what I was curious about, is like, I felt like, I felt like, a little bit older when I came back. Did you feel like it impacted you in the same way?
Yes.
Like, did it?
I
feel like it made you, I do feel like it had the kind of the opposite impact. Like it made you more flexible. Like you were more.
It definitely made me more flexible.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
I said when I came back, one of the biggest things that changed about me, besides my entire...
Not like the other girls.
I'm different. What
like
do you mean? I'm different. But like besides my entire life career path, I love change now. Like I didn't love change before. And I love it because everything was constantly changing on the ship. We did A and B days for class, which means every single day you had different classes.
Yeah.
You were in a different culture every single week. Like not just a different country, but like we were changing cultures all the time.
In niche cultures too.
Yes.
Like it's not like, oh, I'm in France.
And
like, I'm in Burma.
I loved it. Like it was so like I crave now. I loved when I worked from home because I felt like every day of my life was different.
Yeah.
Even if it was just like my home responsibilities or something like that. Now that I'm in an office, I definitely feel that struggle of like I do the same thing. And so I recently reflected on this. Yeah. I don't like scheduling weekly meetings because I like them to change every week. Like I'm like, okay,
that's funny.
Other people might not love that. Like maybe we need some consistency, but I love like the like, wow. Okay. When do we want to meet next? Like
that's wild.
I love
had
the
no
change.
idea that. Yeah. It's crazy that traveling had that much of a personality shift. Like impact.
Yes. I love change now.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. I'm like happy with,
consistency.
I really, really crave time to just sit there and be quiet. Like I love that.
Well, and I feel like that has to do with your travel experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that was the culture you were in. You were in one place for 4 months. Yeah. Like you were able to grow in that way.
Yeah, brewskis and buds. Yeah, I just want to sit around.
Yeah, right.
Drink beer with my friends. Like and talk about stuff. Yeah, that's like that's where it felt like a fairy tale was the place we were in. It's what they made. It's what they based Hogwarts off of. Yeah. Like it was a building that was 600 years old. And so just, you felt like you could just completely give yourself to the environment and just see what.
When you weren't at a pub and you weren't in school, what else did you guys do? So
Scotland is known, and anyone traveling there, I would encourage anybody to go there because it has something for everybody. Yeah. Like it's where golf was founded. So people like golf. Yeah. Scotch whiskey is like huge. Okay. It's like there's distilleries. And then there's the Highlands, which is like. Right.
Oh my gosh. We haven't even. Did you.
Oh yeah. That was probably, I had it's all connected by rail. So like all of UK is connected by rail. Yeah, so if you are traveling in London and you're like, we're on the fence about going to Scotland, I think just going to Scotland and then taking a 2-hour train ride through the Highlands, like you will. It's by far the most beautiful scenery.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so amazing.
Yeah, no, it was. I think what people like about like Iceland or Ireland. Yeah, I see pictures of that, and it's Scotland is. I feel like it's just on another level. Like it's spectacular. Oh my gosh. One of the fun things, like kind of about the Scottish culture, is when the Romans started to invade them, like the year 10,000. And the Scots were they were tribes. Yeah. They were not about letting Romans in. Yeah, and so they built the Romans, the people trying to invade, built a wall to like they didn't want the Scots to come over because they were so worried about it. They built multiple walls. Like it was the Great Wall of China.
They were so scared.
They were like, we don't want to mess with them. We don't want to go over there.
They're like, we're good.
Yeah, we're cool. Yeah. And so like that was the testament, and like the people there are so proud of that land. Yeah. Just like the way the landscape looks. And unless you're there, you can't really appreciate it. But like once you're there, you just feel like when you're I feel like it's the same feeling when you're in an old church or something. Yeah. You're just like, there is so much life and history here that I can't begin to understand. But like when you apply that to like landscape, this is like thousands of years old and it's rolling hills. So nature, Scotland checks that box. There's 700 islands in Scotland. So you just go north. You can island hop.
Pharaoh, five.
Yes.
Those islands.
Yeah, those. That's the one.
Okay, another ignorant American girl question. Do people actually wear like traditional?
No.
Like no kilts. No. You're not seeing kilts and bagpipes.
They do play the bagpipe.
Oh, okay. But not in kilts.
No. Okay. No. It's more like ceremonial now. Like it's not like something they never do. But it's not like you'll see a guy walking out. I think I've seen more people in kilts in the U.S. than I have.
I was about to, like they had them at my brother's graduation in Alabama.
Yeah, and I might be wrong. Like maybe in different. I was in a metropolis. Like Glasgow's a big city,
right?
So maybe it's different in the countryside. And I think if I was like giving travel tips for Scotland, I would say Glasgow. The only reason I went there was for the university. It's much more. It was an industrial town.
You would go out.
Yeah, like I would go to Edinburgh and the Highlands. Like if you're like, I have 3 days, I would go to Edinburgh and I would try to find some time to go to the Highlands.
How far is Edinburgh from London? Like if someone's flying into London.
If it's a flight, it's probably like 30 minutes. Like it's not far. It's like probably a 4-hour train
drive.
Yeah, and Edinburgh is like Edinburgh had the whole like magic European city where everything is like beautiful. It's old. Like you got some of the benefits of the Scottish like scenery, but like there's so many like famous authors from that, like J.K. Rowling. She wrote Harry Potter in Edinburgh. Like Diagon Alley is based on a street in Edinburgh.
So
she wrote, and so I think it's a very like it's just a place where you just feel there's something in the air that's you can't really describe it unless you're there. And so I think in traveling, I would say Edinburgh is kind of a must because it has all the benefits that I feel like of a Rome or Paris where you feel like you're transported somewhere else. And then it's a jumping off point that if you want to go to the Highlands or you can do that. You want to go play golf or go to like distilleries. Like I'm not a big whiskey person or drinker in general, but it was like these like people have been doing this for hundreds of years. Yeah. And it was just cool to see.
That's so cool. Do you want to play this or that?
Let's do it.
All right. Edinburgh or the Highlands?
The Highlands.
Okay. If you're going to take a weekend trip, plane or train?
Plane.
Barcelona or Madrid?
Barcelona.
Barcelona or Prague?
Barcelona.
Okay. Good times in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're going to spend a day with your boys at the pub.
And girls. Yeah.
And the girls. We won't leave them out.
Everyone's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Yeah.
I'm going to get canceled now.
No, you're not going to get canceled.
Hang at the pub or go play golf.
At that time in my life, I didn't golf, which is devastating.
Yeah.
Now I would be golfing all the time. But I think, it's hit the pub 100%.
Did you play it all?
I didn't play it. I didn't play
the entire time you were there.
No, that's a regret.
Yeah.
That's a regret.
That is.
But I think if spending as much time, I think you can do that here too.
Yeah.
Like sit around with your friends and drink a beer outside, and you'll probably be happier.
Absolutely.
Probably gonna be a happier person.
And
brewskis and buds.
I think we're gonna end there.
You should cut that.
I feel like that's a mic drop moment. Do you have any fun plans? Where to next?
I'm going to Italy for a week with my mom and my grandma.
How wholesome.
Yeah, I know. I think it was because when I was in Europe, like I traveled like Spain, Prague, Turkey, like jumped around Germany, and I didn't do Paris, London, or Rome. Like I didn't go to
like the basic.
Yeah. So obviously, to check those boxes because I'm different.
Right. I'm different, but I also still need to do them.
Yeah. So I think my grandma's turning 81, which is huge. So it's going to be me and a 60-year-old and an 81-year-old. And we're going to have a time.
I want to be your grandma.
It's going to be great. No, it's going to be great. We're going to Rome and Florence. Yeah, I'm just going to eat, walk around. Yeah.
That's pretty much Italy for you.
Yeah.
The Vatican.
Touch paintings. We'll see. It should be great.
Some sculptures.
Yeah.
Should be great.
Yeah, I hopefully Tokyo next year. That's the plan.
Oh, that will be so fun.
Yeah.
I'll give you all the tips.
Asian tour.
It's great. It's great. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
This was really fun.
This is great. I hope that our kids listen to this one day.
I hope they will. Beckham.
Yeah. All right.
Peace out.
Cut.